I generally do the preparatory practices before I give the talks on my own. But in this case, due to the profundity of the subject, I thought in order to gain merit and specifically to do some purification, I thought it would be, and also to create a karmic imprint in people's minds, I thought it would be auspicious to actually do the full-on prayers that we usually do in the Tibetan tradition, even in the simplest forms. Although it goes to 5-6 pages, this is as simple as it gets. I'm sorry. But hey, we're in samsara. What do you want? Okay, so for those of you who don't want to participate in these, it's fine. It's okay. Just listening is okay. But I ask you, in whatever tradition or whatever way is acceptable for you, to take refuge in your own way, if that is what you feel comfortable with, because there's going to be a lot of things in this particular sadhana here that you may not be familiar with, because it comes from the Tibetan tradition. But the most important thing is to take refuge, and in this case, to the best of your ability, to generate bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, aspirational. In this case, I'm not expecting bodhisattvas to be listening to this, because bodhisattvas, true bodhisattvas in their own side, should be out there teaching and not listening to me. You guys know better than that. And so aspirational bodhicitta, meaning you want to achieve enlightenment for all sentient beings without exception. And so those two things are the prerequisites when we are reciting these prayers. Okay, so take refuge here 3 times, and then generating bodhicitta 3 times, and doing the 4 immeasurables 3 times. So I'm not sure how many of you can see the sadhana before you, but just go along with it. So Namo Guruvaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Namaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guruvaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhamaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guruvaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhamaya, Namo Sangaya. In the Supreme Awakened One's truth and the spiritual community, I seek refuge until enlightenment by the merit for practicing, giving, and other perfections. May I accomplish full awakening for the benefit of all. In the Supreme Awakened One's truth and the spiritual community, I seek refuge until enlightenment by the merit for practicing, giving, and other perfections. May I accomplish full awakening for the benefit of all. In the Supreme Awakened One's truth and the spiritual community, I seek refuge until enlightenment by the merit of practicing, giving, and other perfections. May I accomplish full awakening for the benefit of all. May all sentient beings possess happiness, the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be part of suffering, the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings never be part of unhappiness that has no suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity without attachment or aversion, from near or far. May all sentient beings possess happiness, the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be parted from suffering, the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings never be part of unhappiness that has no suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity without attachment or aversion, from near or far. May all sentient beings possess happiness, the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be parted from suffering, the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings never be part of unhappiness that has no suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity without attachment or aversion, for near far. Visualization here. We are visualizing now Buddha Chenrezig. It's acceptable to visualize Chenrezig in whatever form you wish, in either a 1,000-arm, 4-arm, or for those of you who can't do that, visualize His Holiness the Dalai Lama in whatever form you wish. So here in the space of the Dhammakaya of great spontaneous bliss, in the midst of the billowing clouds of magnificent offerings on a seat composed of lotus and blue, the sun and the moon sits supreme exalted Avalokiteshvara, Chenrezig, great treasure of compassion. Avalokiteshvara has 4 arms. His upper 2 hands are placed together and hold a wish-fulfilling jewel. His lower 2 hands hold a crystal rosary and white lotus. Avalokiteshvara is adorned with jeweled ornaments and heavenly clothes. Over his left shoulder, an antelope skin is draped. Cross-legged, he is seated on a silver moon and lotus. At his heart level is a pearl white he syllable which emits brilliant colored light in all the 10 directions. So just briefly visualize that. Now, maintain that visualization as we do the 7 ring prayer before Bodhichitta. Your liberating body is fully adorned with all the signs of Buddha. Your melodious speech complete with all 60 rhythms flows without hesitation. Your vast and profound mind filled with wisdom and compassion is beyond conception. I prostrate to the wheel of these 3 secret adornments, your body, speech, and mind. Material offerings of my own, of others, the actual objects and those I visualize, body and wealth and all virtues amassed throughout 3 times, I offer to you upon visualized oceans of clouds, like Samatavajra's offerings. My mind being oppressed by the startling darkness of ignorance, I have done many non-virtuous actions against reason and vows. Whatever mistakes I have made in the past, with a deep sense of regret, I pledge never to repeat them, and without reservation, I confess everything to you. From the depths of my heart, I rejoice in the enlightened deeds of the sublime masters and your virtuous actions, past, present, and future, performed by myself and all others as well, and by ordinary and exalted beings of the 3 sacred traditions. I request you to awaken every living being from the sleep of ordinary and instinctive defilements with the divine music of the Dharma's pure truth, resounding with the melody of profoundness and peace, and in accordance with the dispositions of your various disciples. I entreat you to firmly establish your feet upon the indissoluble Vajra throne in the indissoluble state of Ivan, until every sinning being gains the calm breath of joy in a state of final realization, unfettered by the extremes of wilderness or tranquil liberation. I totally dedicate my virtuous actions of the 3 times so that I may receive continuous care from a master and attain full enlightenment for the benefit of all through accomplishing my prayers, the supreme deed of Samatavajra. Now, mandala offering. Here once again, we're offering a mandala to Buddha Chenrezig. And this mandala, you don't necessarily need to know the mudra. I don't expect anyone outside of the Tibetan tradition to know the mudra, but just visualize that you are holding a mandala in your hands, a gold mandala, celestial gold. For those of you who are J.R.R. Tolkien fans, celestial gold should not be a problem for you to visualize that. Celestial gold, and within that mandala is everything and everyone that you love, everything and everyone that you hate, everything and everyone that you have no reaction towards them, they are neutral. All the jewels, all the golden treasures that exist not only here on earth, but in the celestial realms, the God realms, those you visualize, and that is what we are presenting to Buddha Chenrezig in this case. And after, towards the end, for those of you who are reading the Sadhana, when I say Om Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamyatayami, we visualize that you are offering all of that, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Don't worry about it. It doesn't soil Buddha Chenrezig, because in the Buddha's eye, all that is transformed into emptiness and bliss. The most important thing is that you give without reservation, that you're giving everything that you can and everything that you possess and everything you can visualize that is virtuous and in between. So by directing the fields of Buddhas, this offering of a mandala built on a base resplendent with flowers, saffron, waterings, it's adorned with Mount Meru and the 4 continents, as well as the sun and the moon. May all sentient beings be led to these fields. This offering I make of a precious jewel mandala, together with other pure offerings of wealth and the virtues we have collected throughout the 3 times with our body, speech, and mind. To the 3 precious jewels I offer all to you with unwavering faith, accepting these out of your boundless compassion. Send forth to me waves of your inspiring strength. Continue to visualize Bodhichitta in front of you throughout the rest of this discussion or talk. Any questions at the moment? Okay. So, as always, please check your motivation when listening to any Dharma teaching, even as something as informal and simplistic as this. Your motivation should always be that you're here to listen to the Dharma, even if it's just one word, one sound. You're here to listen to it for the benefit of all mother sentient beings, to free yourself and to free others. So when you listen, you don't look at the person, you listen to the words. When you listen to the words, you listen to the meaning of the words. When you listen to the meaning, you listen to the definitive meaning, not the interpretive meaning. For those of you who have received teachings on Bodhichitta before, and you are curious about if there's anything new that I will be talking about, there is nothing new here because the problems are always the same. So therefore, what I'm going to discuss here, for those of you in the Tibet tradition who have a Lama, a teacher, may these words remind you of your teacher's kindness. And remember what you've been taught. So, Bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, body, enlightenment, chitta, mind, Sanskrit word. Just a little recap of what we did before in March, light years ago. The preliminary practices, the prerequisite for Bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, is to develop renunciation. That in itself, for most of us, is something that's going to take a very, very, very long time to develop. But all spiritual practice, irrespective of which religion, Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, all genuine practice, spiritual practice, requires renunciation. Why? Because the world that we live in and the world that we want to live in is incompatible. So you have to give up one. You can't serve 2 masters, as the Bodhisattva said. So we have to give up one. So renunciation means, in essence, it means renouncing all the causes of suffering, all the causes that create some suffering, and finding or trying to find a way out. That's what renunciation is. And so the biggest betrayal that we will encounter in our life is the betrayal that this body that we have, this physical form that we love, that we protect, that we cherish so much, is going to betray us in the end. And so a lot of people don't understand that until basically it comes down to the wire. Now, so in the previous discussion, I just basically ran through the process of saying how we get to the point of developing bodhicitta, or not developing bodhicitta, but coming to the conclusion that bodhicitta is important. And that means we, through the process of developing renunciation, we see that we are suffering in essence, and through that process we develop compassion for others. In a nutshell, that's it. By developing that kind of compassion, you see that, gee, those people have gone through that problem. That means I'm going to go through that problem. If I'm going through this problem, that means these people are going to go through the problem. So it's very easy for us to look at family members and people that we love and say, well, I'm going to try and do something. So then what happens? People become evangelical Buddhists, and that doesn't work because you can't change or force someone to believe something unless they voluntarily do so. Monks and nuns, for example, in Buddhism, cannot be disrobed if they don't wish to be disrobed. It's a voluntary process. So no one can become a Buddhist or abandon Buddhism or take on Buddhism unless they really want to do that. So the whole process is voluntary. And because it's voluntary, the realizations are deeper. The process on the path to enlightenment is quicker because you want to do this. You see the benefits, you see the realizations of it, and therefore you do what you need to do. That's very easy to do. But what's difficult to do is to actually do it on your own. Because when people get into the Dharma, they soon realize that they don't think like their friends, they don't think like their family anymore, they think like their work colleagues anymore. And what happens is that, and this I'm not even talking about people who get ordained, just lay practitioners on a lay level. Things change, the environment begins to change because your perceptions will change. So that in itself is validation that if you change the mind, you change the world that you live. That in itself, we can all just pack up now and go to the mountain and meditate for 15 years and come back and tell me how you went, and then I can continue my talk. That in itself is a lifetime meditation for some people. But the process is there, so the proof is in the pudding. In Buddhism, the proof is in the pudding. So it's His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, Buddhists, people joining Buddhism, it's quality over quantity. So we want people who are genuine and going to last all the path as many lifetimes as it takes, and they're going to be genuine and sincere. So when they say they're going to take on the burden of all sentient beings, they literally mean they're going to take on the burden of all sentient beings. And so we will see how we actually do that in as brief a time as that we've had. So any questions to that?
Not yet.
Okay, let me ask the question then, which relates to what I spoke about in March. So according to the Buddha, what is the cause of suffering? Anybody? What is the cause of suffering?
I suppose in a nutshell, it's probably because of our past deeds and our seeds that have led up to this particular point in time. It's the way that views all the thoughts that run through all the thoughts and feelings that run through your mind. I suppose it's a simple, short way of putting it.
Well, yeah, you're on the right track. But what is the actual origin of suffering?
So someone online has said self-cherishing mind.
Self-cherishing mind. Who's that? Is that Benny?
Yeah, that's Benny.
Yeah. Hello, Benny.
Grasping.
Yeah. So it's self-cherishing mind. What do we mean by self-cherishing mind, Benny?
Yes, Benny.
Anybody? What do we mean by self-cherishing mind?
I guess, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yep.
I guess pursuing a life where you're looking after yourself's interests only, living a life of pleasure and indulgence, attachment, the three poisons, and really just making this life all about me. That causes in my view, most of our stuff.
Yeah, that's right. In essence, what we colloquially call ego. But the ego, in Buddhism, the ego itself is a manifestation of a self-cherishing mind. So it goes ego, then self-cherishing mind, and then the mind itself, consciousness, pure consciousness, which is the nature of clear light. So this duality that we produce creates this schism between, or dichotomy of me and everybody else. And because of that dichotomy, judgment comes into play. I like this, I don't like that. I like this person, I hate this person. I want this, I don't want this. And it's through that that we have this illusion of existing as a separate entity. Somehow there is a driver within the vehicle that is judging, that is deciding. And even in psychology, it's proven that through it's not fMRI scans, but through the appropriate electronic equipment, it's proven that a thought occurs, then the reaction happens. So where is that thought coming from? And of course, that's a metaphysical question. That's not something that science is ever going to pinpoint, because it has no, as it says in the Heart Sutra, no shape, no form, no taste, no appearance whatsoever. It's in the nature of space. It's cognizant space. That's what the mind is. That's why it's possible to take rebirth from one life to another, because something that has no material form transcends time, transcends place. It's not something you can bottle. It's not something you can pickle or anything like that, because it has no physical shape, form whatsoever. So it's that dichotomy, that illusion that somehow, oh, you hurt my hand. Well, who said that? Where's my hand? Who is this owner that possesses this hand? And so when we look at that, say, well, it's me. Well, who are you? Then you say, it's my name. Well, it's not your name, because do you, in your dreams, do you identify as your name, or do you identify as a separate person in your dreams? And in your dreams, you identify as this personality. Hence, if a tiger chases you, which is auspicious, by the way, if you have tigers chasing you in your dreams, that's an auspicious dream. You are afraid. So the scriptures tell us that this self-cherishing I is most accessible, most vivid in times of when we're actually scared. When, like, for example, speaking publicly or something like that, you become very, very conscious. Well, very conscious of what? Where is that fear coming from? Where does that fear actually exist? Some people say in the heart, because there are physiological processes, your body's sweating, etc., etc. But where exactly is that fear? What exactly are you afraid of? And who is generating that fear? So these are the kind of questions we should be asking ourselves. And the beneficial process of asking those kind of questions is that we can cure ourselves of basically every single problem that we have can be cured by really contemplating on the origin of the consciousness. Where does the consciousness exist? How does it play? That's what the Buddha taught in terms of cessation of suffering, the Four Noble Truths. So if you could keep that in mind as I talk through this, that we are, thank you for coming. If you can keep that in mind to the best of your ability as I go through this, because the path, the Mahayana path, the Bodhisattva's way of life, is really, in Buddhism, we don't joke around. We don't, if somebody's dumb, stupid, you're stupid, that's it. Well, the question is, don't be insulted by that. The question you should be asking is, well, how can I unstupid myself? How can I actually purify that? What do I need to do? And usually, in the Tibetan tradition, the Lama will tell you, well, you need to do 100,000, make it 1 million prostrations. And if you understand what that means, if you have genuine faith and a deep understanding of Dharma, you would say, thank you very much, and I will do that. Because you understand that even if you were told to do 1 million prostrations, or suggested, may I say that, not told, suggested to do 1 million prostrations, you will understand that that is nothing compared to the suffering of being reborn in a lower state of existence. So this is what I was talking about before in the first first talk that I gave on this subject, March, the preliminary practices. Without understanding the scope of samsara, it becomes very, very difficult now to be having the desire to be a bodhisattva, the desire to be thinking of others. When we on ourselves, on our own side, we haven't even done the homework to free ourselves. So what generally happens is that people romantically, and I use that word deliberately, romanticize Buddhism and say, oh, it's so nice that you do this, and then all of a sudden they become overwhelmed by the suffering that exists in the world, the suffering that exists in your family, the suffering that exists when you realize, I don't have enough money to buy food or pay rent or whatever it is. And yet I'm supposed to be looking after little kids or looking after this old person. And you're thinking that you, because you've read a little bit about Buddhism, that now you're going to be this great Maha Bodhisattva, etc., which is a wonderful aspiration, don't get me wrong. But I'm just trying to clear the air here and really wake people up to reality and say, yes, by all means, keep that aspiration, put it on your shrine, put it on the refrigerator. Be a bodhisattva this time next week, put it on the fridge. Wonderful. However, there is a huge amount of preparatory practices that need to be done. Okay? Because what happens is people are confusing something. You're confusing compassion with empathy. So there is something called, like, for example, people who are in the healthcare profession, psychologists, nurses, healthcare people, etc., parents, teachers, kindergarten teachers, for example. And there's something called compassion fatigue, commonly called compassion fatigue. Now, it's a bit of a misconception in my view. It's not really compassion what these people are suffering from. It's actually empathy. Because if you had genuine compassion, we'll talk about that, what it is. Genuine compassion is inexhaustible. It's impossible to be exhausted. Suffering in the world, no problem. No problem, keep going. We'll just do it. But empathy, when you're put yourself in somebody else's place, oh, they've got cancer, they've got this, their family's died, whatever, you're crying. Okay, fine, wonderful. You can feel it. And a lot of people run away from that because it's too much. That's what we commonly call compassion fatigue, but in fact, it's not. It's actual empathy. Compassion, as we will see by definition, Buddhist definition, is seeing that people are suffering and wishing that you didn't have that. You're not really putting yourself in someone's position. You're not really feeling what they're feeling as such. You're just observing them and saying, yes, that's terrible. I wish you didn't have that. You're not taking on anything. Whereas empathy is, oh yeah, I'll do it, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that. And soon, within an hour, that's it. You're going to be exhausted. And the problem with that, should I say the danger of that, is that you think you're being compassionate, and then you're going to say, no, I never, ever want to be compassionate again. It's too much. It's like people who have dogs or pets, and their pet dies. No, I'm never going to have another pet again because the process of that pet dying, causes me so much distress. I'm never, ever going to have a pet. Oh, this is what happens when we don't really understand what samsara is. We don't understand that where we live and how the world functions. We only want it our way, and we want to interpret Buddhism in our own way. Therefore, a lot of people become scared when they realize, why is he talking about death? Actually, I used to have somebody when I was teaching in a more detailed way over 9.5 years. I used to have somebody that came over, used to come to the class, and once he just disappeared. And I asked, whatever happened to the guy? He goes, oh, he doesn't want to come anymore because you talk too much about death. Now that's okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's cool. But the thing is, he didn't get it. He didn't get it. Because death is the reason why we're doing it. And so recently I spoke with a professor of anthropology, and we were talking about what is the purpose of religion. And, you know, they went on about this, they went on about that, etc., etc. Most of it was political, you know. And I just basically said what Buddhism teaches, which is the real purpose of the Buddha Dharma, a religion. Therefore, this religion is the same, the purpose is the same for all religions. The purpose of religion is a preparation for death. Full stop. And of course, this is a professor of anthropology, mind you, at a very prestigious university, which I will not name. Basically had no reply to that because they're academics, and we are only talking about facts and figures, as we all do. That's all they think about, black and white. The world is black and white, but it's not black and white. And so they had no reply to that, and just had to agree that it's a preparation for death. If you look at it, every religion, doesn't matter which one, pick every one, especially the main ones, it's a preparation for death. So therefore, unless you understand that, there's no reason to be practicing Buddhism. And I just say that bluntly, because as I said right at the beginning, you know, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, and he said it within context of monks and nuns, but I would respectfully to His Holiness, I would like to say the same applies to all of us, lay practitioners and ordained, which is quality over quantity. So therefore, the Buddha is doing you a favor by saying, well, you know, I'm only giving you the tools to prepare for your death. Now, whether you're afraid of that or not is your responsibility, but I'll be here when you want to talk. And that's it. That's really it. So understanding that, we begin to understand a little bit that we're on a clock. We don't have much time. And so when I know with all of my Dharma teachers, respected Rinpoches and Geshis that I was very, very fortunate to study over the years with, you know, whenever you come to them with a problem in private for an interview, you have a problem, they just meditate on death. No problem. You have no problem. You got girlfriend problems? Meditate on death. That's it. Okay, I think we better, wake up here, really get serious about our relationship because, time's running out, And so you got a problem at work? Meditate on death. You got a problem, you feel embarrassed about certain things? Meditate on death. So that's not being pessimistic, that's being optimistic because it's telling you the truth. It's telling you what you possess. You have this body, you have this opportunity, you have access to the Buddha's teachings. The only thing that's impeding you is you don't know how to ask the proper questions. You don't know where to start. You don't really know what you want to do with yourself. And the time that we have spent, apart from got to pay the rent, got to work, got family, etc. Okay, fine. But if I gave you $200 million in your bank account right now, all economics problem solved. Now what are you going to do with your time? Now what are you going to do with your life? The thing is to start right now. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how much debt you're in, whatever it is, it's now. This is the point. This is a very, very important point. Whether you're a teenager or in your late years, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Quick story. At the time of in the late 50s, there was a man who was a soldier, and as people were crossing the border from Tibet to India, refugees. His Holiness Chuchen Rinpoche, Bodhichitta, the senior tutor to His Holiness the Dalai Lama at that time, he spotted a man in the crowd. It's like a sea of people going past, and he said, "You come here." And he told this guy, said, "You need to go on retreat. You need to go right now, blah, blah, blah." Give him instructions, blah, blah, blah. Later on, he saw him in Dharamsala. He said, "What are you doing here? I told you to go on retreat." Come and see me. I'll give you the instructions. And go. So the man did this. This is a man in his 60s. And so he went on retreat, and he died in retreat. Not too long afterwards, maybe about a year or so afterwards. And the people that were there said that there were rainbows above the house where the man had done retreat. And that's a sign that the Dakas and the Kings had taken him to the Pure Land. Another example is a student of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, a Taiwanese woman. This is maybe about 30 years ago. An affluent woman, businesswoman, had lots of money, had children, family, etc. And she later in life, she joined up with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, got ordained, had the karma to do that. And she left and she went on a retreat, I think maybe in America somewhere. And nobody saw her. They would always just slip the food under the door. They only saw her once or twice in a couple of years. And eventually somebody noticed that the food wasn't being accepted anymore. The tray of food being left outside, and they realized that they found her body inside. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche instructed that they build a stupa for her. And once the 49 days had passed, they did a puja for her, the final puja, and that there were rainbows above the stupa, that she had achieved enlightenment in that one lifetime. Because she had dedicated her life, she had made full use of that life. Likewise for the previous example. These are all people within the 20th century. The latest story was about 30 years ago, so sometime in the 1990s perhaps. And so it's doable. And you have to prove it to yourself. I've proven it to myself that this is a practice, that enlightenment is a practicality. You can be taught, it can be learned. There is actual examples of it. It's not just fairy tales, inverted commas, from textbooks or anything like that. This is something that you need to, as the Buddha says, you need to test it. Is it gold or not? Somebody gives you a gold coin, but it could be lead. How do you know it's gold unless you test it? So this is the whole process. So what we're doing here with the Bodhisattva's way of life here, this is something that's way beyond the normal scope of thinking. People that you know of, everyone that you know does not think the way that we will now go through, the Bodhisattva goes through. It is beyond the norm. And so that's why I'm gently alluding to the fact that a lot of preparatory practice needs to be done, a lot of purification and a lot of accumulation of merit needs to be done in order to fully benefit from even the simplistic discussion that we're going to be having. So any questions for that?
Not online.
Okay.
Can
Hi.
I help you?
Good.
First of all, I'm so glad I'm here today. And
Thank you.
I'm very sorry I missed the first part.
No, sure.
It turned out to be something really good. I didn't expect this from what you just said. I try to take notes, and I have some barrier with learning Buddhism, which is the language barrier. To learn from someone who speaks English like you. Not much, but enough to not have the most accurate message.
Mhm.
And one of my questions, if I may, please.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, so when you talk next, do I hold the question until the very end, or I can ask on the spot?
You can ask them.
Oh, really? No, I mean, now is this question time, but during your talk, if I don't understand, do I hold it, take note, and wait until the end of
You
your
could do that.
Yeah. And so I hope you don't mind. It's my phone. That's how I take note.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My first question, if I may, please, is you said Buddhism. I don't understand most of the word in the title of this talk today, but what I understand is Buddhism, the Buddha, Buddhism, and you said Buddhism is a religion and is prepared for death. At the moment, I'm more of the thought that Buddhism is a philosophy, not a religion. So when you mentioned enlightenment and rainbow, reincarnation, is that are you considering Buddhism as a religion, and you believe in afterlife, reincarnation?
Well, okay. Very briefly, Buddhism can be broken down into 3 separate levels, and each one of these levels combined is Buddhism. And people, depending on where you are, you, for example, see Buddhism as a philosophy. Some people see Buddhism as a psychology. Some people see Buddhism as a religion. So Buddhism can be broken down into 3 sections: psychology, philosophy, and spirituality or religion. Here it's being taught as a religion, because religion is the highest level. Religion incorporates both the philosophy and the psychology. So depending on the person, whoever wants whatever you want. Some people just want to sit and just recite mantras. Well, that's a psychology. That's just a therapeutic process, right? Other people like just to read. They love the philosophy. Okay, what exactly happens with karma? How does karma work? So you read and read and read. But that's all they do. They just read and read and read. You know, they don't actually study. They don't contemplate. They don't meditate on it. They don't absorb it. They don't come to any realizations. Other people, in terms of religion, have just blind faith. Or the Buddha said so. Well, that's not good enough, because the Buddha himself said, don't believe what I say, test it. You know, it must be based on logical reason.
How can you test afterlife and reincarnation?
Well, those things, that's when we talk about valid cognition. Valid cognition. How do we know when we look at something or experience something? How do we know that's valid? How do we know it's real? Well, in Buddhism, there are 3 ways we can know something is real. One is through our senses. You see it, you touch it, you feel it, right? The other one is we can infer. Infer means, oh, if there's smoke over there, I infer there must be fire. Okay?
A logical.
So all these things, that's what we have, those 2, so far, those 2 things. Of course, we can get it wrong because our senses are not accurate. You know? In Buddhism, we have a 3rd option, which is scriptural validation, which means what the Buddha says through his own realization, through his own experience, we can take as valid. So when the Buddha says this works, this operates, we say, okay, we accept that, but now we have to test it. How do you test it? You test it through, for example, if somebody makes a cake, right? One person, that same person makes a cake using the ingredients, right? And you taste that cake, right? I cut you a slice and I give you that slice. And you say, that's pretty good. So you can infer from that taste that this side of the cake is going to be okay too. This side of the cake is going to taste the same. That side of the cake is going to taste the same. Why? Because one person made it at the same time using the same ingredients.
Logical conclusion.
So by going through the Buddha's teaching sequentially, through all the teachings, and you come to, oh, okay, that makes sense. I realize that. We can infer that other things that we haven't heard or listened to are also valid. You understand?
Wow. I really need that. Well, at the moment.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of
So in this case, this is what I want to, chisel it on your mind. Faith is based on logic and reason. Blind faith gets you nowhere. So in this case, I just showed you how we can develop logical faith in the Buddha, right? And nobody can take that away from. Blind faith, oh, I heard my friend say this, I heard my friend say that, I heard this, maybe I shouldn't do this. Blind faith, you get confused and people drag you by the nose. But if you have faith based on logic and reason in the three jewels, it doesn't matter. You can ridicule the Buddhas, you can do whatever you want. I know through my own experience, this is valid, this is true, this works. How do you know that? Well, I've tasted the cake. Here, I've tasted the cake. There, can you see the bite marks? Can you see that? I put this one. I put this piece back. And so that's what you need to be doing. You need to taste the cake. And once you taste the cake, then you say, this is true. This is valid. I'm on your side.
Yes, I wanted to believe that the cake is good. I wanted to.
Yeah.
But my current logic is against that.
Fair enough.
Well, I haven't had a convincing experience that proves to me the cake is good. Although I do want, I wish that cake is good.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
That's good. So what that means is we say you have karmic obscuration.
What's that?
Karmic obscuration means that you have previous actions, negative actions that you have performed in previous life and in this lifetime are obscuring your understanding of the Dharma, are obscuring you from coming in contact with the true teachings of the Dharma. Okay, now I emphasize true teachings of the Dharma. Okay, so that, because you can go down and buy any book on anything that sounds Buddhist, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's what you have to be careful. So those karmic obscurations are the things that are impeding us from actually coming in contact with the Dharma, really understanding it and really applying those things.
I wish I could believe in karma obscuring. I heard that explanation before.
Yeah.
I wish if there's some magic that can make me believe that, then I will be free. Well, I have witnessed some Buddhist theory myself, and this is true. I don't know how it's translated in English, but the Buddha teaches us to, if you just do the right thing, your mind will be so settled, it's very clear as crystal, and so your intelligence will develop like amazingly because of that. If you don't cheat, don't lie, don't do wrong thing, your mind is at peace, and it will be really, really powerful. And then your intelligence is like 10 for 100 times. I myself experienced that.
Yeah.
Like when I moved to Australia, 20 years ago, it was in Vietnam. It's a country of difficult life. So everybody read, trying hard, and lying is a common social acceptance. Just because if you don't do that on that society, on that hard life, you can't survive. But after that, I was lucky enough to have enough condition to live without having to be lying or to be greedy. And I came to Buddhism way after that. I've never heard about Buddhism. In Vietnam, we have pagoda, but to me, it's just a religion, and I don't accept that. I only believe in Darwin and evolution, and when you die, you die. That's it. But after that, I witnessed it myself. I stopped. I tried to be a better person, so my mind become really clear after that, and I can see my intelligence and the power to see through things and to see the real matter, like 100 times more powerful. So I don't know what you call that three things. In
That is what the Buddha taught, that without morality there is no concentration. Without concentration there is no wisdom.
wisdom.
So morality is the basis for all spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think they can say anything, they can do anything, they can think anything, and they're still going to have concentration.
Yeah.
So morality, ethics,
And
what's right, what's wrong. And that's applicable to lay practitioners as well as to, especially ordained practitioners. And so without that, which you, as you experience, you've taken a bite of the cake,
yes,
is that
okay.
morality is the foundation. From that, you have concentration. Concentration on what? On the wisdom.
Yes, I did taste that cake very clearly. So that's done.
Good,
That's done.
good.
My problem now
Yeah.
is that, and then after tasting that cake,
Yep.
I have no greed for materialism anymore. Like before, raising in such society, you always want to be better than everyone else. Your watch, your phone, your car, your house, your girlfriend, your wife has to be better than your friend, better than the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I got rid of that completely.
Mm.
Now I just don't care.
Mm.
Before it's such a burden,
Mm.
and I said, why did the person make me so unhappy? Even if I keep achieving things, I'm above average, keep achieving things, did nothing to my happiness. So I realized that, and now it's become nothing to me. Good. So I have freed myself. My only problem now is that I couldn't free my attachment to my sorry loved one.
Mm.
What I mean by sorry loved one is, if they are just my loved ones, I wouldn't discriminate them between the next sorry person. For example, if my daughter is naughty, is lying, is a bad person, I wouldn't be heavy about her as the next kids I don't know that is in a difficult life, not a good living condition. But my daughter she's weak, she's timid, and she got bullied. So she's a sorry person that deserves the love from anyone, not just me. Plus the fact that she's my daughter. So my heart is very heavy for those kind of people, not just my daughter.
Yeah.
That's just an example. My youngest brother and my mom. Those three people in my life, they are not in an average happiness that they deserve. So I have freed myself, but I can't be free out of these three, and that's why I wish I could taste your cake of thinking, okay, they are repaying what they've done in their previous life, so that their next life will be better. If only I could believe that, then I will start smiling all day.
Okay, let's stop right there. Let's listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay, good. Thank you. All right. So, by understanding how we suffer, then we can see how other people suffer. And through compassion, we can actually begin to think of others more than ourselves. So, what's the origin of suffering?
Greed.
Self-cherishing mind. Self-cherishing mind is the origin of suffering. So, compassion, bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment itself, without meditating, without actually having to study the philosophy so much or anything like that, simply by thinking of others, we actually diminish our self-cherishing mind. That in itself becomes an antidote to the origin of suffering. That's why compassion is so important. You don't have to meditate as such. All you've got to do is just think of others genuinely and from the bottom of your heart. That's the proviso. As I said before, there's a confusion between empathy and compassion. Okay. So by seeing how other people suffer, by understanding at this point, as I said, we would have gone through the process of renunciation and having come to a conclusion that enlightenment is possible through the Four Noble Truths. It's possible to meditate and free ourselves from that. However, by doing that, it becomes a bit of a selfish act because there are other people still suffering. And yet you know the answers, how to get out of samsara. You have access to further teachings, etc., etc. And yet there are all these other people that you've left behind, literally left behind. Okay, so that now becomes the seed for, hang on a second, you know, I have a karmic connection with these people. The Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, has come and gone, but yet there are still people who are suffering in this world. And I have a karmic connection with these people. So I can help these people. So if you have a strong karmic connection with someone, whether it's you love that person or you hate that person, and keeping in mind that hate is the strongest emotion that you can have, it's not love. For those of you who believe in the Hollywood version of Buddhism, it's actually hate, because the person that you hate the most is the first person you will meet when you take rebirth, because they're the one that you have hurt the most. They're the ones that you have the strongest karmic connection with. So if you've got an evil cousin like the Buddha did, now you know why you've got an evil cousin, or an evil brother, or an evil mother, or an evil father, or whatever. Or maybe you're the evil cousin, because this is someone you hurt very, very deeply, profoundly in the previous life. And now you can't stand each other. That's how it operates. So by understanding this, you can free all these people. You can help them. Come on in. Let's do this. That's the origin of the Bodhisattva's way of life. Yeah. So before you start anything, you have to know what the advantages are before you can do anything. Why would you do something if you didn't know what the benefits were, what the disadvantages, if there are any disadvantages? Why would you blindly accept something? A lot of people do, because we get blinded by personalities, uniforms, blah, 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 blah. So the benefits of generating a mind of enlightenment is that, first of all, for those of you who regard yourself as Mahayana practitioners, according to, keeping in mind, I'm talking now from the Tibetan tradition here, so words and things may not be in accordance with your own tradition, but nevertheless, the underlying message is identical. So according to Jetson Kapa, who was a very famous 13th, 14th century Tibetan Lama, who was an emanation of Manjushri, the Buddha of enlightenment, the Buddha of wisdom, I beg your pardon. So according to Jetson Kapa, you know, being in the Mahayana tradition, you're not in the actual Mahayana tradition unless you have a mind of enlightenment. That's what qualifies you being a Mahayana practitioner. Unless you have that, you're kind of aspiring to be a Mahayana practitioner. So one of the benefits of having an enlightened mind is that you're actually now on the path. You're in the Mahayana path of Buddhism. Okay, so that's one of the benefits. And I'm just going to skip through these briefly, not too much, without too much detail. So the second benefit, you will be called, by generating a genuine sense of bodhicitta, you will be called a son or daughter of the Buddhas. Why? Because the fully enlightened Buddhas were all dependent on being a bodhisattva, and bodhisattvas are dependent upon the mind of enlightenment. So therefore, when you yourself become a bodhisattva, you will actually be an in-crowd and have access to much more detailed teachings and more profound ways of accessing the Buddha's teachings and purifying yourself of negative karma and accumulation of merit. You will surpass all other practitioners as a bodhisattva because of the Mahayana path, because the Mahayana path It's Mahayana meaning the great path, which means great in the sense that it's all encompassing, all sentient beings. It's great because the task at hand is great. It's monumental. It's not great in the sense that it's superior. It's none of that. That's a competitive, that's a worldly mind that's saying that. The worldly competitive mind. Oh, anything that's great, is it expensive? Oh, good. They must be good. I'm going to take it. You know, it's because of our competitive mind. It's not that way at all. It means maha, great in the sense that it's great in terms of vastness. So it's superior in that context, in the sense that it's taking on a lot of people's problems, taking on other people's responsibilities, you're taking upon the burden of enlightening others. So that's what makes it great in that context, by weight or the gravitas that it possesses. By becoming a true Bodhisattva, you will actually be an object worthy of making offerings to. You will actually be, if we had a shrine here, you would actually be qualified to have your picture on that shrine. And offerings would be allowed to be given to you because you are somebody who is working for the benefit of all sentient beings. By becoming a Bodhisattva, you will easily accumulate extensive merit. So a Bodhisattva wishing and working for the benefit of all sentient beings, all you have to do is just offer one candle to the Buddha on behalf of all other sentient beings, and you have accumulated more merit if you fill this room full of gold and diamonds. Why? Because it's for the benefit of all sentient beings. How many sentient beings are there in this universe?
Countless.
It's beyond calculation. So for every single sentient being, as many sentient beings as there are, that's as much merit as you have accumulated, if that's what you dedicate that merit for. So giving bread to a bird or something like this with Bodhicitta motivation, far, far superior than making offerings to the Buddha's physical offerings. So that's why I always say to people who are in a rush to be a Dharma teacher or something like this, who are in love with the idea of teaching the Dharma, then I say, well, if you want students, if you are so much in love with the thrill of having students and all that kind of stuff, then go to a park, bring some sugar, bring some breadcrumbs with you, and bring a copy of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, and sit down, sprinkle the sugar on the grass, and throw the breadcrumbs on the grass, and then and the ants and the birds will be your disciples as you chant the sutra. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. If you're a true Bodhisattva, you will understand that. You will understand that. That's perfectly valid. But if you're like competitive worldly person, no. I want, the Horden Pavilion is going to be full of all sorts of people. Forget it. That's just worldly attitudes. The next point is that being a Bodhisattva, you quickly purify yourself of negative karma. So simply thinking of others and dedicating your merit and working for their benefit purifies that self-cherishing mind, as I was speaking about before, because that is the origin of suffering. That self-cherishing mind is what causes all suffering, according to the Buddha. That's the origin of suffering, second of the Four Noble Truths. Suffering, origin of suffering, cessation of suffering, nirvana, Four Noble Truths. So the cessation of suffering is understanding that it's the mind creating this dichotomy of this fictitious self, and it's that self that is now coming up with judgment. This is good, that is bad. And that's where the problems start. That's the origin of samsara. So by having a bodhicitta, we're acting on behalf of others, we're thinking of others in body, speech, and mind. And so we're actually purifying this negative mind on a moment-to-moment basis. The more we're thinking of others, the more we actually begin to impede this self-cherishing mind. Hence, we purify. Every act that a Bodhisattva does is a form of purification and accumulation of merit. The next point is we become invulnerable to harm and obstacles. And in this is all the Dhammapalas, like Mahakala, the Dhamma protectors, Mahakala, for example, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they will all be there protecting us. They will all be there encouraging us. They will all be there giving us whatever we need. So if you need something in terms to teach the Dharma, all of a sudden books will pop up. All of a sudden people will pop up. Benefactors, sponsors, boom, 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 boom. Things will pop out of nowhere if you're a genuine, true Bodhisattva. And you will have no impediment in order to turn the wheel of the Dharma for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yeah? But if you want a Ferrari, if you want to go out with Taylor Swift, if you want to hang around with, you know, the beautiful people, you're actually burning up all your negative karma very, 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 very quickly. Oh, sorry, your positive karma very, very, very quickly. Yeah. So that doesn't mean you can't hang around with those people, but you need to have very, very good motivation to do that. If you're going to hang around with Taylor Swift just so you can have a very, for example, a very famous disciple or something like that, that's not good enough motivation. You know, that's not good enough. You know? So we have to check out ourselves, and that's another aspect of the Bodhisattva way, is that we are constantly being mindful. Raise a sharp mind, constantly analyzing. Why did you do that? Why did I just say that? Why am I sitting here doing nothing? What can I be doing? Is there somebody I can help? What should we do this one? Constantly, night and day, questioning, analyzing. Why? Because my mind is the enemy, not you. It's my mind that is enemy. As Shantideva says, and I've said this many times before, I shouldn't be afraid of what you think of me. I should be afraid of what I think of you. That's where the suffering begins. Yeah, that's the Bodhisattva way of life. Yeah? Totally opposite to anything, anywhere that you ever heard. That's why I said this is an alien way of thinking. You don't know anybody in your life like this. That's why these teachings are so precious. Very, very difficult. It sounds yeah, kind of easy, but it's not, because it's asking you to change from the very first nanosecond that I open my mouth. You're asked to change your perception. You're asked to change your behavior. You're asked to change how you view yourself. That's what the Dharma is all about. It's actually giving you instructions. It's giving you guidelines, rules and regulations. What would happen if everybody wanted to drive a car the way they wanted to drive a car on the road? Exactly. But if everybody agrees we're going to follow the same rules on the road, then we're going to get to our destination, no problem. So it's the same thing here. People always talk about, I don't want to take vows. I don't want to take precepts as a lay practitioner, you know, because if I break them, I'm going to go to hell. Well, my question is, where do you think you're going to go without those vows and precepts? Do you think you're going to see Buddha Amitabha face to face? You can have a good conversation with Buddha Chenrezig or something like that? No. It's though, even if you break those precepts, right, you still have the karmic connection of receiving those precepts at a future time. And also those precepts can be purified if you know what you do. So by understanding that, then those people who are serious about it, they will definitely take the Bodhisattva vows and take them and keep them to the best of their ability, because they're the rules of the road. They're the guidelines that are telling us what to do and what not to do. So there are two ways of generating the mind of enlightenment. the sevenfold cause and effect and the exchanging of myself with others that the Buddha taught. The sevenfold cause and effect comes from the Maitreya lineage, and the other, exchanging myself with others, comes from the Manjushri lineage, which was more of an esoteric practice, and was only given to people with very, very high faculties, people who had a very strong karmic connection. Why? Because you need to already possess a certain amount of compassion in order to take on the suffering of others. So that wasn't taught to people openly, right? So we won't be, in the small amount of time that we have, we won't be talking about that. So we're just talking about the sevenfold cause and effect. And the most important thing of that is before you can actually think of others and to work for the benefit of others, you need to think of others on the same level, meaning developing equanimity. Because it's ridiculous to say that you're going to achieve enlightenment for others, and then you can say, "Oh, but I hate that person." But it's only this small group of people who give me money and give me praise. It's only them that I'm going to be working for. That's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So equanimity needs to be developed. Meaning we think positively about every single person that we meet and come in contact with. So the way to develop equanimity is the three types of people: people that you like, people that you hate, your enemies, and people who are neutral, people you just don't know, strangers, complete strangers. You either neither hate them nor like them. So the way to develop equanimity, which could take a very, very, very long time for people, is to visualize someone that you like. Generally, it's done with someone who's neutral, but I think it's more appropriate to be thinking of those people that we like first. To taste the chocolate first. So we visualize someone that we like standing before us. Then we visualize someone that we hate standing beside them. Then we visualize a third person, someone from a newspaper or something that you have, complete stranger, you have neutral thoughts. You neither hate them nor like them. And then you look carefully from person to person. This person I like very much because they help me, they're very kind, they're loving, they're caring. Then you look at the person you hate, they hurt me, they're going to do it again, I despise this person. And you look at the neutral person. But for those of you who are with sharp faculties, you'll see that how your mind changes from person to person. The person hasn't changed, but your mind changes as you go. That in itself should be a clue to you that you have control of what's going on. But because of the karmic input, our overriding karma propels us, forces us, the force of habit, forces us to like this person, to hate this person, and not really care about this person. If this person was dead in the gutter, the neutral person, I'll just walk right over because I have no feelings towards. They're neither this nor that. Yeah. But if we carefully analyze, we see that this person that I liked so much, in a previous lifetime, I hated this person. Maybe even in this lifetime, we hated each other. Maybe in the future, I will hate this person and they will hate me. Things change. People change. Impermanence. You know? The person I hate, in a previous life, we liked each other. In the future, maybe we will like each other in this lifetime. And the neutral person, likewise. In the previous lifetime, we liked each other, we didn't like each other. Now this life, that karma is finished. So therefore, they're neutral, neither hate nor like them. They're just strangers to them. So things change. So we apply logic to go through all of this. Now you can go away and come back in 20 years and tell me how you went through this meditation. So this is how we use logic and reason to override the psychological, emotional problems that we have. And that's something that you have to sit down and you yourself think about that. Because you're the one that has the karmic connection with these people, not me. I have a karmic connection with other people. So only you can work on this. Only it's dependent upon you doing the homework, you asking the questions, you overcoming your shyness, you overcoming this, overcoming that, and you now applying yourself to benefit yourself because time is running out. Yeah. So that's equanimity. When we are thinking equally, when we can sit back and equally think of these three people in the same context, in the same degree, that's when we have developed equanimity. Once you've done that for those three people, then think of the people next door where you live. Think of the people at work. Think of the people in the next country. Think of the whole world. Visualize the 8 billion people in this world in the same context. And then you'll see, it's all the same. My mind is deciding who is who, what's what. I actually have absolute control over it. That in itself should be liberating. Can you see now what they mean when they say you need sharp faculties? You need to use your mind to free your mind that caused the problems in the first place. It wasn't you who hurt me, that called me names that caused me. It was how I reacted to what you said about me that created the problem for me. And because of that, I created a karmic imprint on my mind. And it's that karmic imprint that is the karmic obscuration that I can't see what's good, what's bad. It poisons. So therefore, I need to have that. I'm in constant conflict. I'm in constant conflict with people. So therefore, that's psychology of Buddhism in that example. That's the philosophy of it. And the religion of that is having faith in the Buddha for teaching. So it's those three aspects in one. That's how we practice the Buddha Dharma. If you can practice on that way, tasting the cake as you go along, you say, yes, wow, okay, that works. That's applicable. I can apply this in my life. Because the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha Dharma should always be regarded as personal instruction. Immediately when I say these things, you should automatically be imagining, oh, I hate that person. You should imagine how you apply this. Not going away thinking, oh, that was an interesting talk. No. Immediately you apply it to your own personal situation that exists at this very moment. That's how you taste the cake. That's what validates whether this is true or not. This is what validates whether you will still be practicing the Dharma 5, 10 years from now, or 10 lifetimes from now. That's how we do it. Because there is no other place that you can actually go and discuss this with. Because who do you know that talks this way? Who do you know that wants to experience this? Nobody, except for you. So therefore, you are your own experimental laboratory. It's your responsibility. It's, as Pabonka Rinpoche says, it's liberation in the palm of your hand. It's right there. It's up to you, whether you want it or you don't want it. How much have you got time?
5 minutes.
That's only for online, right? Not for the people here.
Oh, no, everyone.
Everyone.
Yes. Exactly.
Well,
You have to come back.
we'll have to come
You
back.
have to come back.
We'll have to come back for part
4, 5, 6.
4. Because part 3 is going to be on the 6 perfections.
Yeah.
Aeon.
3A. 3B.
So there were 7 points, actually 8, and I only just started on the first one. So there we go. Any questions?
Not online. Any questions?
I suppose it's like that bit that you actually said before, where your own mind's what causes your own suffering, but it's also what frees your own suffering. Is what sort of funny that you said that, but it's just so true in the way that it goes both ways. Yeah, that was so. That's spot on, but honest.
That's the illusion. That's the illusion that somehow it's over there. The solution is over there. And so what happens is people go from one Dharma center to wherever they go. And that's why I said right at the beginning, if you're hearing this and it sounds familiar to you, the reason why it's familiar is because the problems are the same. The solution is the same. The problems are the same. That's why people go from Dharma place to Dharma place. Read Dharma books, YouTube, whatever it is, and it's the same thing. And they think they know it, but they don't know anything because they're actually subconsciously running away from what's causing the problem. That's why you can't be your own doctor. You can't be your own Buddha. You know, you need guidance to point out. They're pointing out instruction. This is this, that is that, this is that. And that's very, very difficult to find, especially this time, you know, a Dharma teacher that can do that, whether ordained or lay, you know, to have a karmic connection with someone like that, to actually, that you have karmic connection with that person. So when that person says, as I said, million prostration, yeah, no worries, because I know that they're looking after me. You know, it's for my benefit that they're doing it. It's not for their benefit. That's the Bodhisattva way, you know. Not somebody say, for every million prostrations, you need to give me $100,000 because this is the course we're going to be doing. Well, wait a minute, where's this money thing coming from? No, it's you do it. It's for your benefit. That's the Bodhisattva way. Teaching the Dharma for the benefit of others, not for fame or glory or anything like that. So therefore, as the Buddha said, you've got to test that coin. Is that person legitimate? Are they practicing what they preach? And that in the Tibetan tradition goes on the heading of guru devotion. Observing the Lama, are they qualified? Are they doing what they're saying, etc., etc. You know, it's not just the student. It's actually, because if you put yourself in the hands of the wrong person, the consequences will be very, very dire. Not for this life, but for many, many lifetimes into the future. Okay. We'll see you in part 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, before we finish, I don't know for the people online, we still need to, do we have time to do generation? No?
The closing, maybe? Just the closing.
Generally, we would be doing the mantra recitation, but because things took so long, we would just do the dedication conclusion prayers, okay? In the glorious 100,000-fold radiance of the youthful moon of the wholesome practice, from the blue jasmine garden of the victorious treasure mind's method of truth, may the seeds of explanation and accomplishment germinate and flower across this vast earth. May the ensuing auspiciousness beautify everything until the limit of the universe by flying high above the 3 realms, the never vanishing great jewel banner of religious secular rule, laden with millions of virtues and perfect accomplishments. May myriad wishes for benefit and bliss pour down, having banished afar the dark wave of this era's degeneration across the extent of the earth, a sapphire held up by a celestial maiden. May all the living creatures overflow with spontaneous joy and significant encompassing brilliance of happiness and bliss, ensured and protected by the power of your affectionate care. May I never be parted from you throughout the rosaries of my lives. May I proceed directly with an ease and beyond effort onto the great seed of unification, the all-powerful cosmic state itself. By the force of the immaculate compassion of the victorious ones, the children, may everything adverse be banished for eternity throughout the universe. May all favorable omens become increasingly auspicious, and may whatever is of virtue in the round of this existence or in tranquil liberation flourish and grow brighter like a new moon waxing full. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Robert.